If you're not a Disney fanatic, a friend of yours is. It's enchanting. It lets us be kids again. It lets our imagination flow. And it puts us in the best mood ever. This is Coffee at the Kingdom. Pour yourself a cup of your favorite hot or iced beverage, and let's dive into the enchanting world of Disney. From the latest park updates to hidden gems at Disney Springs, we'll cover it all. Danielle Knoll is a former cast member turned avid Disney enthusiast. She's got the inside scoop on everything from the parks to the silver screen. With Danielle's firsthand experience working at both the Disney Store and Epcot, along with her frequent visits to the Walt Disney World Resort and Disney Cruises, you're in for a treat. Get ready for a fun and whimsical journey through all things Disney. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a newcomer to the magic, there's something for everybody. Welcome to Coffee at the Kingdom, where the magic never ends and every sip is a sprinkle of pixie dust. Now, here's Danielle.
Hello, and welcome to the Coffee at the Kingdom podcast. I'm your ghost host, Danielle, and I hope you have your delicious beverage of choice and are ready to get into today's episode with me. Today, I want to take you on a brief journey through my love of Disney, culminating in where we are today, leading up to me creating this podcast. This episode's a little different than the other episodes I've got planned, as this is an introduction to me and my love of Disney, so I hope you'll stick around. Now, let's get started. Let me take you back to the year 1990, where my mom and dad took their honeymoon to Walt Disney World Resort. So, even before I was a thought, Disney was already there. Now, let's skip ahead a few years, and there you'll find little old me at Walt Disney World with my family. See, I'm originally from Miami, born and raised there, living there for 24 years, so Disney trips were a somewhat frequent occurrence for my family and I. Throughout the 90s, we took many a trip to Walt Disney World, and of course, we cannot forget about Disney movies. Speaking of movies, it's time for the question of the day. This is where in each episode I ask you all a question. Today's question is, what is your favorite Disney movie? So go ahead and find me over at Instagram at Disney_dreaming_71 or on Facebook at Coffee at the Kingdom Podcast and leave your responses, and I'll read some of them on the next episode. So back to the movies. There were the older Disney movies that came out way before me, like Snow White and Cinderella, which is my favorite, along with Mary Poppins. But there were also the movies that came out in theaters during the 90s and later that I watched in theaters, like The Lion King, which came out in 1994. I could go on and on about Disney movies that have come out that I've watched, but then we'd probably be here forever, and that could actually be its own podcast episode. So let's fast forward to my later years when I was job working age, and I got a seasonal job at the Disney Store at my local mall. Out of all the jobs I've had, that was my most favorite one. It was really special to go to work and make magic. We even did a special opening ceremony every morning where someone, usually a child, could open the store. I was really hoping that after the holiday season ended, they would keep me on, but they actually ended up not keeping any of the seasonal workers. I was so sad that that job was over with. In between, of course, was still those family trips to Disney, and once I was old enough, I took trips on my own or with a friend. And of course, still watching those Disney movies, and we can't forget about Disney Channel and those DCOMs or Disney Channel original movies. Can anyone say Xenon or Under Wraps, Brink, and so many others? Jump forward to the year 2016, and I, at 24 years old, purchased a home in Orlando. My main reason? To be closer to Disney, of course. Yep, true story. I wanted to be an annual pass holder so badly, but living in Miami, I didn't think I could make enough trips to justify having an annual pass, so I made the move to Orlando. It also helps that the cost of living was cheaper than Miami. Once I made the move, I got my annual pass and thus began my even more regular trips to Disney. Now the year is 2020, and boy, what a year that was. But in February of that year, before everything happened, I went on my very first Disney cruise on the Disney Fantasy. It was amazing and everything I hoped it could be. Now, we come to the year 2022, and I decide to take a risk and apply to Disney and leave my job I had worked at since 2019. I applied for a sales and solutions specialist position, which is basically a call center job, and I also applied for security. The security position moved quicker, and that was the role I got accepted for. In July of 2022, I attended Traditions and started my new role as a security hostess, working at Epcot protecting the magic. And while I loved working for the company, that role ended up not working out so much for me, and I left and went back to my previous job. I do still miss working for the Walt Disney Company almost daily, but to cure my sadness, I just go to Disney World, either the parks, to Disney Springs, or on a Disney cruise. More recently, in March of 2023, I went on another Disney cruise, this time with my mom, and it was on the new ship, the Wish. I had wanted to sail on it since I heard about it, and it was amazing. Honestly, if you ever get a chance, I highly suggest Disney for your cruise. Coming up here in the near future, my mom and I will be going on another Disney cruise, this time the Fantasy. It'll be my mom's first time on it. We wanted to do the newest ship, the Treasure, but the sailing dates didn't work for us. We also wanted a longer cruise, so we chose the Fantasy over the Wish. I'll be glad to be on it again. So, with all of that, it's safe to say that I grew up with Disney. There was a lot of Disney in my life. And that leads us to today in this podcast. I basically wanted a space where I could talk all things Disney and know that there are many other Disney adults out there who could relate. At least now you have some background on me and my quote-unquote qualifications to host a Disney-themed podcast. Alright, well, if you're listening to this, you've made it to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for joining me and listening in. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this brief journey of my love of Disney and introduction of myself. If you aren't already, go ahead and give me a follow over at Instagram at Disney_dreaming_71 or on Facebook at Coffee at the Kingdom Podcast. Tune in to the next episode where I will talk about Disney Cruise Line. If you loved this episode, go ahead and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to this podcast and share it with Disney lovers in your life. All right, everyone. As Tigger would say, ta-ta for now.